I just wanted to do an update on my fruiting Garcinia species we have and talk a little bit about soil health and how Florida completely went in the wrong direction to grow citrus with their chemicals. I mean, citrus, hands down, is the easiest thing to grow in Florida that I've seen. And these are trees that are 2 years old. They'll be 3 years old by the time the fruit ripens, but there's seed grown citrus from one of my trees, or one of my trees at our location where we're gonna sell tropical fruit, Juicy Fruit Jungle on US 1 in Mico. So, back to the Garcinias. So the Garcinias, it might be, in the long game, the more profitable fruit to grow, because seems like it's just as easy as citrus. Just doesn't produce fruit as quickly sometimes. So none of these citrus are ever watered. We do have water on a tree near here somewhere, maybe. Yes, I have an Achachairu tree that I connected to water. I bought it from Pine Island Nursery. Pine Island Nursery trees. Achachairu trees. Anyway, start them biologically, you're better off. Throw some earthworm castings on them as soon as you buy them in the pot. Not a lot, we're talking tablespoons. When I say fertilize the tree, I'm talking a tablespoon for your small tree in a pot. If that, teaspoon. It's not very much. So I wonder when the world is going to get together and have a class action suit against all these polluters that make these pollutants that cause disease in your food crops and the food you eat in you. That's how it happens. I'm sure there's going to be a lawsuit eventually. The world will just do it. Shut them down and take their money. Try to remediate all the damage they did to the earth. Because in Florida, I mean, you really gotta try to not be able to grow something here. Keep reading those plastic bags at Lowe's and Home Depot that they have in the center aisle where the Christmas trees usually are, and you might learn something that will pollute your tree, and in turn, when you eat the fruit, will pollute you. That's how it works. Here's a fruiting Garcinia intermedia. Is this Garcinia intermedia? No, this is one that has not fruited yet, and I bought it as Garcinia intermedia. I'm hoping it is Garcinia acuminata, but it looks like it's different. So this is brasiliensis. This is the smallest. The fruit don't really get a whole lot bigger than this, maybe another quarter, but it's kind of a tiny little fruit with a big seed and an interesting flavor. I guess it has herbal, you know, all the important stuff that you don't know about. The phenols and stuff, terpenes, and I don't know. Sorry. I just know how to grow this stuff and get it to fruit. That's what I focus on. That's healthy and nutritious and good for the environment. So over here we have a tree, a Garcinia tree, that I bought it as seashore mangosteen. But it has red flowers. Now the outside of the flowers are bright red and the stems are red, but the petals are kind of white, mostly white, but it appears like some have some pink to them, but I am not sure if that's just the sunlight reflecting through. And it had a flower on it, but it does not have any fruit that I can find, but that doesn't mean there isn't any on there. It's obviously fruited before because there's little trees growing underneath it that look exactly the same. So it's a Garcinia. Of course, I could have planted a seed there before I planted the tree, or after I planted the tree, who knows what's possible here. I have so many trees, I can't keep track of them. Can't keep track of them. So the next Garcinia that has fruit on it, and these Garcinias, you know, everything gets the same treatment. You grow your biodiverse orchard floor, you scatter random bits of carbon, dead grass, fresh grass, spread it out. You don't want it all in one location unless you're making a compost pile. And then if you make a compost pile, make sure you make a good one, because it's not that hard. It's, you know, if you want to know how to grow, you really need to look it up and make it. Johnson Sioux compost. And it doesn't have to be the way they do it. You can modify it to your needs, but you have to check the nitrogen levels of all your ingredients. And you add more carbon than nitrogen. So you have to look it up how to make it. So this is a unknown Garcinia that originally I thought it was, I didn't know what it was. And then I thought it was, for sure, Achachairu. Garcinia humilis, because of the color of the new leaves. But the leaves I thought were different than Achachairu, but I compared the leaves on an Achachairu nearby and they matched perfectly. So then it fruited, this little 5-foot tree. And the fruit was all bumpy. It had 2 fruit on it. One was down really low, and the fruit has bumps on it still. You can, come on, camera. But it's good sized fruit, you can see. I mean, it's a lot bigger than brasiliensis. It's closer in size to Achachairu, and it's more rounded at the bottom. So if it gets a third bigger than that, it'll be, I don't know, so dysfunctional to have a dynamic situation going on with your Garcinia identification. for years. The trees I bought years ago, all but the real basic ones, well, even the basic ones, intermedias turned into Garcinia madruno. So, yeah, I'm excited to taste this fruit and try to find out what it is. Maybe it's gardneriana. I don't know, but it's different than Garcinia madruno that we have with fruit on it, and it's different than the Achachairu that we have fruit on it. I know it's not Imbe, I know it's not intermedia, I know it's not brasiliensis, so the ever-changing names of Garcinias. They're binomial. They're more than binomial. They will take every name possible. More than two. So freaking confusing. So our Lukes are doing good. You know, we have over 100 Lukes Garcinia trees. I know those are Lukes because they came from the source. Some are bigger, some are tiny. I just planted the seeds all in the ground, 200 seeds of the Lukes, and then I had them all staked. I put rings of wood chips around them, and you know, then we got a hurricane and 24 inches of water in a night, and all the stakes floated away, and there was like millions of limbs. All the wood chips floated away, so probably seeds floated away, who knows. But the trees survived, and I was able to find 100 of them, and I'm sure there's more than that, but some might be dying now. It's the number's a dynamic situation with when you have dealing this many trees. So yeah, this is definitely Garcinia madruno for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's definitely in my top 3 list of fruits that I need to taste. So I didn't even know this little tiny 4-foot tree was fruiting. Garcinias can grow in full sun, Lukes can grow in full sun. You just have to have a good cover crop, a good covered crop, a good orchard floor already established before you plant small trees directly in the sun. Otherwise, they're just not going to survive in Florida. That's how it works. They won't survive in your lawn. They won't survive in your wood chips. Or they might survive, but they're not going to thrive in fruit. And I'm pretty sure it's a whole lot easier to get them to fruit if you're growing organic. I'm talking organic. There's only one organic. It does not include any OMRI approved copper. That's not, I'm talking real biological organic. It's just, you got to do low nitrogen fertilizers. You can't be using chicken manure. You just got to do slow and steady. You got to build a fungal population. It takes time, and the only way to do it is with the living root. So there's the madruno, Garcinia madruno. The next one, I guess, is gonna be intermedia. We are very fortunate to not only have lawn here when we started, but to have huge, giant, ancient trees that were starting to die one by one from compacted soil conditions caused by machine mowing lawn. This is the mowed area. This is what happens when you mow. This is just like, it can't be any clearer to how obvious it is what happens when you mow. It's not healthy. I mean, you can do it, but it's just not healthy. Unless you like white sand to grow things in, which for some reason they say that compost is, don't apply compost to mangoes. Really, people, are you that low functioning to think that you cannot apply compost to mangoes? They did not start in Florida. They started in India with compost and cow manure. I mean, that doesn't even make sense to say that unless you just completely turn your brain off and resign your knowledge that everyone has how to grow food. And the bugs, the poor bugs. Nobody stands up for the bugs. This is a insectaria. We have a colony of monarchs that live here. We have hundreds of little blue butterflies, medium blue butterflies, and those cobalt ones that have cobalt inside. You need the insects. The insects are citizens too. They have a right to live. The insect provides the majority of the reduced carbon molecules to the soil, along with fungus. It's insect and fungus material. So don't kill your fungus with your omriate copper. It's not gonna, this doesn't work. The majority of the starting material for soil aggregates comes from insect or fungus. So you really want, the bugs deserve a space. You won't have to power wash your house as much if the spiders have a place to live in your cover crop. The frogs will show up. They won't be killed by omri copper. It's just, whatever you think you know about growing something, or you might read about from people that are pushing chemicals or websites that push chemicals like TFF, the less you really know. And it's my point at Frog Valley Farm to show this. Real proof that it works on all fruits, high dollar fruits. It increases the nutritional value of the food you eat, and we're here to prove it. They proved it with science, finally, through molecular biology, but this is living proof that it works. It is. All you have to do is plant. Plant. Apply a little worm castings, throw a little crap on it, spread your carbon around. And you get living soil. Now, I do have a hose here because I water stuff around my house. I have some expensive palms, and the chacha's on drip, and I have lots of heliconias right around. You don't have to water heliconias. You don't have to water any of this stuff. It looks better if I water it. We're not quite 100%. We don't have enough built up dead biology in our system that can sustain perfect conditions for every single plant in the system. But a lot of them it does. Eventually it'll get there, as long as you don't mow. It's the easiest way to destroy soil. So look at the color of this achacha fruit. I mean, it's blue. These fruits are blue, and they're stunning. And this fruit's just a little bit bigger than that other fruit, maybe. Maybe it's the same size now. The unknown Garcinia. See, there's just, I mean, achacha is really stunning fruit. This tree got topped twice by hurricanes. So it's only, I don't know, 10 feet tall, 9 feet tall. But it would have been really tall if it hadn't got topped twice. And it was about this thickness when I planted it 5 years ago. Oh, maybe a little thicker than that. Maybe about this thickness. So, an inch. So, if yours has got some good thickness to it, who knows? Because people don't, have not practiced growing them in Florida using biological methods. And Florida has the name Florida because of its ability to grow flowers naturally. So this ridiculous, laughable statement that this is Florida, you can't grow organic here, is like, that's perpetuated by the chemical industry. That's all. That's the only reason. I wish the world would get together and demand they stop. Because those pollutants that you eat cause cancer and chronic disease by eating them in you, the disease in you. So we have a Garcinia Imbe, just like, oh, Florida, you can't do that here. What? You got to spray. This is Florida. You got bugs. Yeah, the bugs. Back to the bugs. They need a home. They have rights. They're citizens of the world, just like you. And their benefits far outweigh the inconvenience of being stung by a few mosquitoes. So eradicating everything is not the answer. Because otherwise you're going to wind up with a monocrop, chemical-run world that can't grow anything but disease-causing food, nutritionally poor food. So here's this little Luke's Garcinia that looks really good. Thousands of oak trees growing next to it, just in it, on it, around it, and it likes it. I don't let vines do this because I haven't been able to. I don't like that. No vines growing and winding on my trees. So that's a Luke's Garcinia, one of 100 we grow. Where is that? Oh, this Imbe. This is Garcinia livingstonei. So yeah, the insects and fungi provide the reduced molecules to carbon molecules in the soil because the carbon was digested inside without oxygen. So that creates a reduced carbon molecule, which is what you want for healthy building soil. And then, you know, the compost, making the compost, the Johnson-Sioux system. I got a little sidetracked there. The Johnson-Sioux system. This is that grafted Imbe tree. And from Excalibur, thank you Excalibur, I love your trees. Hopefully I'll love your fruit. Looks like we're getting close. So these are like, you know, they're not that big. They're kind of small. And, but they'll get about twice this size. They're a little like the size of intermedia almost. Maybe they'll get bigger. I don't know. I've only been fruiting this tree, or these trees, the MB, for 3 years. So the couple of others produce scant fruit that aren't grafted. But this tree, she's easily has 100 to 200 fruit on it. 5 years in the ground. Same growing conditions. Applying a fermented, so reduced stuff is fermented. Non-reduced stuff is not is oxidized. That's the difference. So the fermentation just means that it's the when you make compost, the compost is has less air, meaning if you don't turn it, air can't get in there. So that's a fermented compost, which produces more carbon molecules that twice as likely to form aggregates in your soil in a healthy system. Anyway, that was my rant about soil health and why in Florida, people need to pollute me because I really don't like it. And it's such a beautiful spot. The animals, the insects don't like it. The birds don't like it. Nobody likes it except the chemical salesperson pushing the chemicals to grow and pollute your neighbors. So let's clean up Florida, people. I mean, it's really easy, and it's, you know, it works. I mean, how much more proof do you need? Thank you.